The following is a live community event presented by News Channel Nebraska.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning into News Channel Nebraska. I'm Grant Otten. I have two very special guests with me today, Mayor Jim Bulkley and Congressman Fortenberry. Congressman, start with you. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on the program. Just finished a really good discussion with the community, a town hall meeting, and always a pleasure to be in Columbus.
Yeah, appreciate you having me here. Mayor Bulkley, how are you doing?
Very good. Having a great day. This morning we were at 8 a.m. for a 25th anniversary open house. And then this at noon with Congressman Fortenberry, and he put on a tremendous forum.
Yeah, we have all of the political leaders coming in here, Governor Ricketts, Senator Paul Shoemaker, and of course you, Congressman, as well. And so it's been an exciting day for Columbus. Let's just start a little bit about the town hall. What are some of the kind of concerns you heard, I think, that stuck out to you the most?
Healthcare.
Yeah.
Not just here in Columbus, but all across the district. A lot of very important, good, tough discussions about the healthcare difficulties. Healthcare is complex and it's also very personal because it's about your own well-being and the well-being of your family. So trying to get this right in Washington, trying to have enough of a conversation with the country so that there is enough buy-in, so that any changes are made so that we are achieving three goals: protecting vulnerable persons, creating the conditions for better healthcare outcomes, and lowering cost has to be the unifying element here. Now, the House of Representatives went first. We passed a bill. There were some good public policy changes embedded in it, other controversial things, some of the things I didn't fully agree with, but I thought it was important to keep the system moving. The Senate could not pass a bill. We have to get back to work early this fall.
And something that was consistency, I'm sure you've heard, not just in Columbus, but in other places, is you have people with pre-existing conditions who are now getting good insurance and stuff. There's programs that are helping them, but then
Yes.
you have people who are paying high deductibles. And the way you put it, you're because you're still hurting one, but you're still helping one, you don't want to just flip it so now all of a sudden the people that are being helped can't be helped. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's very important to recognize that there was a broken part of the market system prior to the Affordable Care Act, sometimes called Obamacare. I did not vote for that. I thought that what we were going to end up doing is turning the whole system upside down in order to try to fix a component, and unfortunately we see that has happened. But some people are being helped, and I think they should continue to be helped. And their sense of vulnerability should be lessened by the policy debate, not heightened. Yet at the same time, many people are being hurt, and this is simply an issue of fairness. At the meeting, you saw me put up two separate constituent letters. One was from Scott, a farmer nearby, who wrote me a very straightforward letter saying, look, my health insurance cost me $23,000 a year with a $20,000 deductible. My property taxes are $43,000, state and income $24,000, corn's $309. This doesn't work, Jeff. And he's right. The premiums have gone up so high for some people, and then people even getting it through work have seen their costs double in the last few years. It's unfair and it's not sustainable. On the other side of this, though, was Catherine, who wrote me a letter. And she says, I was a nurse, but I had a pre-existing condition. I could not get health care. The Affordable Care Act has helped me. Please don't take away what I've been given. So who's right there? They're both right. The system is helping some but hurting many others. We have to do better for the sake of fairness and for the sake of providing insurance access that is affordable for everyone.
And Mayor, if you want to touch on this a little bit, I know Columbus Community Hospital has put a lot of money into both the community and themselves. When you look at the medical landscape here in Columbus, are you excited, I guess, about the future of maybe what the care people around here can get instead of having maybe even to spend extra dollars to go somewhere like Omaha or Lincoln?
Absolutely. If you go out to the north part of town where the medical campus is, it's just amazing how it's grown over the last 10 to 12 years. The physicians that we've been able to bring in and network with, it takes away from that, hey, I've got to go somewhere else. That doesn't mean you still won't go somewhere else once in a while, but it takes that need away because we have these experts coming to town. And they've branched out to the rest of the community needs. The latest thing they're doing, which will be opening this fall, is the child care.
Next, I think the ribbon cutting's next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah.
100 and some head will be able to be taken care of. Head. I shouldn't talk about children that way. I'm sorry.
We talked a lot about ag and cattle today,
well,
too,
you know, 101 children will be able to be taken care of. And child care is such a big need here in the community. You know, two working parents. How do you take care of the children when you're going to work, and so on and so forth? So the hospital has taken a great step in trying to address those kind of issues. I think it's great for Columbus.
And Congressman, we'll touch on this in a sec too. Our first one, Mayor, what are your thoughts on ag and industry so big here in Columbus? And it's really the reason I think Columbus has probably, and a lot of people think it's succeeded for so long and continues to grow. Do you see that growth pattern continuing and maybe even rising even higher with kind of the state of industry here in town?
I think we have the opportunity to even raise higher than what we are right now. Value-added ag is really the key to where we're going to be able to move forward with. If you take a company like ADM, where we were this morning, and look at the value-added, what they've been able to do with corn, you know, and who would have thought 25 years ago we'd be doing this and getting as big as they are, and they're just continuing to grow. Along with that, you have the community, the companies that are here that, you know, we have a lot of medical related companies in town, and that, you know, they're going to do nothing but thrive. Mm-hmm. So, you know, Columbus's challenge is to be able to make those companies, allow those companies to continue to grow. Affordable housing, labor force. If you sat down with us at a council meeting or a chamber meeting, what are we going to talk about? Affordable housing, labor force, so on and so forth. So I mean, we're positioned very well in Columbus.
And talking about ag a little bit, you guys touched on trade at the meeting, and specifically it was the Trans-Pacific Partnership that you kind of touched on. Can you talk a little bit about the points you were kind of touching on and what the concerns you have heard?
Happy to. If I could back up a moment and affirm what the mayor is saying about the extraordinary work the community hospital has undertaken to position itself as a leader in rural Nebraska with advanced care as a center for medical necessity that not just competes with others, but actually provides a home so that the community here in the nearby area has a place to go, even for advanced procedures. I think it's been a real success story, and it's been very important for me and meaningful for me to be in dialogue with the community leaders there as they built that hospital out. And it's very important for rural America. Regarding ag as well, we can't forget this is Nebraska's most precious resource, and in regards to trade, it's one of the things that America makes still that helps with our trade imbalances. So trade has been very important to Nebraska farmers, Nebraska agriculture. The rest of the country doesn't quite understand that real well. And at the same time, we're good Americans here. And when we look out at trade and the prospects, for instance, for the Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement, there were some things that were really concerning many Americans. We've lost manufacturing. We're entering into agreements with other countries potentially that have differing types of economies, that are hybrid models of capitalism, communism, that do not have human rights, that provide direct and indirect subsidies to their industries, that create an unlevel playing field. Now, China's not a partner to that particular agreement, but do you know if you live in Beijing, it takes 5 years off your life because the pollution is so bad?
Wow.
Now, we don't have that here because we have appropriate regulation to keep our health and well-being, our air and water intact with integrity. But when you don't have those conditions in other countries, you are not embedding those costs into the cost of production, and it creates an unlevel playing field. So it's a bit of a dilemma for the ag community, who want to see us continue to move forward with aggressive negotiations and trade agreements, as do I, but we need to get a fair deal. And that is, of course, necessary for agriculture, but for all of America as well.
Healthcare, and we can touch back on this just because it has been such a priority, it seems like, at the meetings you've gone to, and obviously a lot of people are affected by the different changes that are taking place. You used an example during today's meeting of someone who was able to lower their costs and lower costs to the government by going to a different facility. Can you touch on that story a little bit and kind of explain what you're talking about?
Yeah, I told a long story, and I waited to tell it because I think it's quite powerful. But there is an innovative healthcare clinic in another community down the road which is undertaking what I call disruptive technology, and I visited there recently. Marie, if I could just spend a moment on this. Marie was a patient. Before she came there, she had a $38,000 bill to the government through Medicare, and this is a clinic that takes in hard Medicare cases. She was on 19 medicines, $10,000 out of her own pocket, 6 chronic conditions she suffered from. 1 year later, her $38,000 bill to the government is down to 14, 19 medicines to 9. She's paying effectively nothing out of her pocket, no hospitalizations. She feels better. The taxpayers have saved money, and the clinic actually profited from some of the savings that they achieved with the government. That was a change of government policy that gave them the incentive to show metrics, outcomes, and if they showed improved health along with savings, they get to keep a portion of it. That's smart public policy. What did they do? They created a home care model, a continuity of care, a medical team around her that included an internist for direct primary care, a pharmacist, as well as a critical care nurse that shepherded her complex conditions and the management of those for her. That's the way forward. 5% of people account for 50% of the cost to the entire system. We're talking about refinancing insurance and other public programs potentially, but that's only one part of the equation. The other is the fragmented delivery of care system, which has to be rethought with incentives to lower costs, improve outcomes, while protecting vulnerable persons. Everyone wins in that scenario. That's the bigger debate, the bigger set of policies that we need to implement, and we're already seeing them implemented. They just need to be scaled.
Is this something you can see growing?
Yes.
Or
it has to grow,
yeah.
and I can see it. That's the 21st century architecture for healthcare. That can actually get us re-excited about healthcare policy rather than feel so heavy about it, because costs keep escalating and people are feeling real uncertain.
And Mayor, I'll get back to you here in a second too. And you heard some concerns about Social Security and particularly someone myself, 27. We have a gentleman who was 36, I believe was how old he was, talking about how Social Security might be vital to him and his family. You touched on, obviously, if it stays the same, something is going to have to change, otherwise it's not going to be good for people that are relying on it. What are some of the things you thought, you kind of suggested a few things that maybe would be good to change?
Well, first of all, I received Social Security when I was a child. My father died when he was young, and it helped get the family through. This is a very important program, not just for protection in your elderly years, but also for children who find themselves in difficult circumstances. So I believe in the program. I think we ought to strengthen it for its long-term viability. If nothing changes currently, if it just was the same, I believe by the year 2031, the benefit, in order to make the books balance, the benefit would drop by about 19%. So it's not as though it would go away. Your benefit and the younger gentleman there's benefit would drop. For people in the system or near it, no. The age is going up for you. It's already built into law. But you know, we're all living longer. That's only fair. I mean, you're going to have more productive years to set aside. I've discussed a little bit publicly another option. I recall one day a gentleman who was helping me with some plumbing, and he was probably in his 50s, and tough job. And he told me he just wasn't going to be able to physically do it much longer. For persons who have expended themselves in a type of physical activity, or who have a health rating that might be different from someone else who has been in a position that has been not so stressful in the body and whose health is maybe in better shape, maybe you can have a sliding scale of the retirement age, and that would help offset this need for benefit change and rework some of the calculations there in order to keep the benefit levels the same that people expect, but making it perhaps fair based upon the individual's own condition.
And Mayor, as really the voice for Columbus, when we're talking about political leaders wanting to talk to someone, they want to talk to Mayor Bulkley and hear what your thoughts. Are you hearing similar concerns from people about this type of stuff? Because Columbus is really, it's a great place for families to grow up. It's a great place for people to get older and retire, and of course Social Security can be big on that. Have you heard any concerns about that kind of stuff?
The specifics about Social Security don't get brought up to probably the mayor.
Yeah.
The specifics about local taxation gets brought up to the mayor, and but it all kind of does fall together. I mean, we have to be good stewards of the monies that we get from the public, whether it be Social Security, local taxes. We need to make sure we're spending the dollars wisely. I do think Columbus is a great place to raise a family. We've got a lot of things going for us, but people need to remember things cost money.
Yeah.
You know, it's real easy. We're in the middle of budget discussions right now. Last night and tonight we're moving forward our next year's fiscal budget. And probably the thing people, you always get those that have their favorites. Everybody's got something they want. But, you know, and they want to forget that whatever else costs money, you got to take it from somewhere. You're going to rob Peter to pay Paul, because nobody wants to put too much more into the till. And so we've got a balancing act that we have to do. And I'll just relate to one story. Last night at one of our meetings was a discussion about baseball fields. One councilman brought up that, well, I don't see any money going toward this particular set of fields. And the park director came back and said, the items have been prioritized, and that's what you got to do, because you can't fund everything. So you get a group of people that decide A, B, C, D, and then when the money runs out, next year you go A, B, C, D again and move down. So
this sounds very familiar. I used to be on the city council in the 1990s, and what a great place to be able to represent Lincoln in local government. It's a great place to, I think, enter into public service. I was very proud of the work we did, but frankly, a lot of the same dilemmas.
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely.
You can't do everything. You have to prioritize. And frankly, both sides of the political aisle, if you're saying cut versus spend more, there is a way out of this. It's called being smarter about the funds that you have, so that you're innovating, you're looking for new technology, rethinking ways of administering things, so that you're taking the funds that you do have and maybe even achieving better public policy outcomes. It is necessary for us always to be looking at what do we let go of that is old, that met a need in a previous time but has been carried forward, perhaps unnecessarily, and what should we plus up that meets the modern evolving needs for the 21st century. It's a struggle the mayor has, it's a struggle I have, it's a struggle that anybody who's trying to be thoughtful in terms of using elected office wisely has to wrestle with.
And as we kind of get towards the end here too, the big thing you talked about for that to be successful, to be smarter, and you kind of mentioned there, is getting across the aisle, working together, Republicans and Democrats. Do you see some light at the end of the tunnel at all? I know that's what a lot of concerns you heard at the city council, or not the city council, but at the city council chambers at the town hall. People wondering, is this going to happen, or is it just that's the solution, but we might not get it? One
of the benefits for me doing town halls is, of course, I want to present what we're doing in Washington, but I also want to hear what the people are saying. And I thought one of the local farmers who stood up said it extraordinarily well. He said, let's get away from one party ruling versus another party ruling, and let's get toward governing. Now, I think that makes sense. Now, that's just common Nebraska sense, because I think the Nebraskans want me to stand on principle to make the best case possible for what I believe to be right, that's in the best interest of America and our communities. And yet at the same time, try to keep moving forward towards something good. Not just get stuck and paralyzed and start fighting and blaming, but to try to keep moving forward to that which is good. You can't always get everything you want, but if you can move toward it sufficiently, let's just get something done. I think somebody else, famous Nebraskan, said that, right?
Well, Congressman, Mayor, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good to see you.
All right, thank you guys for tuning in for this special interview. We're glad to have both of our public officials here, and I'm glad you guys got to tune in. I'm Grant Otten. We'll see you later.
Thank you for watching this live community event presented by News Channel Nebraska. We now return to our regular programming.